All right, everybody. Good morning. I found this neat thing this week in a email from Zillow. Don't hate me, um, but I thought it had some good information in it, and I thought it would be cool to kind of walk through together and discuss what might be surprising, maybe things that aren't so surprising, and just get kind of general reactions and see if it spurs any conversations. Um, that might be helpful for our business. So, without too much further ado, let me share the screen and we'll take a look at it. Other thing I wanted to mention is just in case you didn't see it, I linked it in the calendar invite for today in the notes section. So if you want the link to the PDF for it, you can find it there. Right, and there we go. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so this just came out, or at least it just came out for me. I just saw it in my email last week, and like I said, I thought it was timely. I thought it would be cool to walk through. So, just as a quick FYI, this is kind of an overview of things that have changed over the past year and just general feedback. More than 5,000 buyers and 6,200 sellers were surveyed. So that's a pretty good size sample to kind of give you insight into where all this is coming from. So some key takeaways. People are still working with agents. 93% of sellers, 85% of buyers. I have some thoughts on why that's higher on the seller side, but anybody else have any thoughts on it? Well, my thoughts basically are, you want more visibility and you need an agent to get the MLS, to get your listing on the MLS. So while some people will try to for sale by owner, I think it makes sense that sellers are going to work more with agents to have that access to get the visibility for the property. On the flip side, I think buyers are a little bit less because new construction. And I think a lot of folks, new construction has been really popular over
I
the
was just gonna
last
say
few
that.
years. So much
Yeah.
funding has been going on, and folks are just going in there unrepresented. And I think if I had to guess, that's my 10,000-foot guess. That's probably the difference there. Still about half of buyers and about 60% of sellers are meeting or are working with the first agent that they come in contact with. So what does that mean? That's why speed to lead is so important. That's why you need to reach out right away and connect with these people, because nearly half are working with the first people they talk to. So that's why that's a priority. So make sure you don't forget that and you remember that, right? People are using digital tools, of course. We love them. It's good for us. It makes our jobs easier. It gets us the information quicker. And same thing for our buyers and sellers. 78% of sellers said they're more likely to hire an agent who offers high-res photography, which of course we do. 71% said they're more likely to hire someone providing virtual tours, interactive floor plans, which of course we do. And the interest in these has increased since 2019, so it's going up. Buyers want to text. Who's surprised by this? Nobody. Yeah, right. Everybody. 53% of people prefer texting by text message or messenger app. I know we're all skeptical of WhatsApp, but I still have clients who use it. Compared to just 33% of people who prefer phone calls. I'm surprised that it's that high, to be honest with you, just based on the reactions you get from people. 50% listing agents have an opportunity to set expectations with seller. Of course, that's what we try to do. 50% of sellers had an offer fall through. That seems really, really high. Really, really high. I'm not sure what the definition of an offer falling through is. Maybe that means someone withdrawing an offer, not necessarily a contract. I'm not sure really what to do with this stat. I don't think there's enough information there. What it does say is today's typical seller holds 2 open houses. which I think we do a good job of doing as many open houses as we can for our people. And I know that we're all offering them constantly in the group. Sometimes you're able, sometimes you're not. But I think it's a good thing to take advantage of when given the opportunity, especially for newer listings, if for none other than this. Buyers come, work with the first agent they come in contact with. Somebody in an open house might not have talked to an agent yet, might not have been to another open house. You're the first person they come in contact with at that open house. So most clients find agent commissions are fair. 73% of sellers and 70% of buyers think their agent's commission is fair. 7% of sellers and 9% of buyers even said commissions were too low. Bring me those clients.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's a good sign. I mean, everybody was worried that our commissions were going to go down dramatically when the whole NAR thing came out. I don't think we've seen that yet.
Well, and I think even I've noticed that it's gone up. Like it went from 2.4 to 2.5. Like, right?
So, and some places, yeah. I mean, I've even had people tell me that they're getting 3.
Yeah.
So it really just, I think it really just depends. I think what it's done more than anything is listing agents are having a deeper conversation about commissions with their clients than they were before. Even though it's always been negotiable, it was more presented as a package deal versus this is part A and this is part B. It was more like this is the package and then this subsegment goes, you're paying that to the buyer agent. So I think because of that, everyone that I talk about commission with brings up, well, we need to offer something or they're not going to show our house. And then I explain how well I work with buyers and sellers. So I always ask my buyers when we're doing the agency agreement, this is what we expect. If a seller's not offering that, can you make up the difference? And if they say no, then I say, well, do you want me to find out the commission being offered before we go see a house? And then, the conversation goes from there. And so I share that with the sellers when we have our listing agreement or meeting. So they're aware and they can make an informed decision of, again, what's possible. That's part of the selling guide. That's part of the text that's in there. There's data in there that shows what the percentage of different commissions being offered to buyers. So make sure that you're taking the time to explain that to folks. Some notable year-over-year changes. Home value index plus $21,000. Not a lot of context there, but it shows that prices haven't gone down. Typical buyer ages increased by 2 years. Fewer percentage of folks are first-time buyers. So first-time buyers are going down. And I think that probably has to do with the cost of lending these days and that most first-time buyers aren't paying cash, they're getting a loan. So people are waiting. Plus 2%. Sellers who had to sell their home quickly. Again, not a lot of context here, but just some 10,000 foot stuff. 8% of people down who took their home off the market. 3% increase in sellers who discovered their agent from a referral. That's good. Minus 11% of sellers who received an offer that waived the inspection. Okay, now this is typically more state to state stuff. Of course, we can do that here. Plus 4% of buyers more likely to view a home if the floor plan they liked was included. I wish Brandon was on the call. Going back to our conversation with Charles last week, maybe he'll watch the recording. 16% down sellers who also bought a home. So what that's saying is these people who are selling aren't buying another property. So they're either moving in with family or going into a rental. Maybe in some cases, people have a second home and they're moving into that. Some regional insights, always good to look local, right? Because it's unique wherever you go. People are transitioning from different parts of the country constantly to other areas. In the South, buyers are most likely to prefer having phone calls with their agent. Also not surprising that in the South, that's probably higher than most places. Sellers are most likely to say a trustworthy first impression from their agent is highly important. You guys remember the old Head and Shoulders commercial that said you never get a second chance to make a first impression? Once people have gotten that opinion of you, that's pretty much it. It takes, it's like moving a mountain to get them to change that. So make sure that you're hyper aware and you are prepared to make a good impression the first time. West, sellers like high resolution photography. Least likely to have phone calls. Northeast, active on social media. An agent who is active on social media. That means they're looking for you. Also, I would say take that into account because we get a lot of reloads from the Northeast. If you want to work with those folks, make sure you've got some content. Sellers are least likely to discover their agent on a website or app. Midwest prefer texting, are least likely to negotiate with an agent for a lower commission. How about that? Okay. All right. Now let's talk about buyer preferences. So how many agents do buyers contact? Great question, right? How many websites are you signed up on? How many people are sending you houses? Well, why'd you sign up for 5 different websites? Right?
Yeah.
Anyways, first time buyer, 35% 3+ agents. Repeat buyer, 25%. This is among buyers who contacted at least one. 25% contacted 2 agents, 23 for repeat buyer, first time buyer 40%, repeat buyer 52%. And hopefully that was their same agent, right? Especially if it's you guys, right? Good thing to keep in mind. So even repeats are talking to other people. That's why it's important to stay in front of your folks and don't let them forget about you when the transaction's over with, right? Stay in touch with your folks. I texted a lady this week. It was 9 years ago. She bought her house. It showed up on Facebook Memories. I texted her a picture from closing. You know, stay in front of it. Stay in front of it. You never know when they might send you somebody or when they might need your help again. How do buyers discover their agent? Okay, online, website, or an app versus referral from a friend or family. Social network or search engine, another agent, or a home builder. So, you know, we got some referrals going on, of course.
Where's the other 60%?
Good question, right? Let's see if it gives us some more info. Or there's just a whole lot of answers. So how buyers, this is maybe a better visual, see how it's changing throughout the years. So it actually went down from a website from 2023. Same thing on social media. Search engine remained about the same. Referrals, a downtick in last year, but a significant uptick this year. From another agent or broker down a little bit, from a home builder down a little bit, and that's not really surprising. From the community, man, that took a deep dip in 2023, but it jumped back up this way or this year. About the same past experience with that agent or broker. Saw contact information for a house sign up a little bit steadily. Attended an open house, met an agent or broker. Not really surprising, direct mail is very low, and then other 4%.
Wow, that's a lot lower for like loyal customers, I'd say, than I thought.
Good point. I agree. And that leads nicely segue into this next page. Why don't some buyers use an agent? The overwhelming majority, 85%, use an agent. But among those who didn't, so that 15% or so who didn't, they already knew the seller personally, 42%. So this is basically a house from a friend or a colleague or something like that. 36%. That does seem high. 36% do not want to pay commission. 11% had a negative experience. Nearly 3 out of 4 prospective buyers had at least one apprehension about using an agent. Common roadblocks included worrying about an agent would be too expensive and not understanding commissions. That's why it's so important that we have these conversations so people understand. Same thing with like someone who doesn't know anything about lending. Well, I don't know what I'm qualified for. Well, talk to someone so you understand. If nothing else, you can start getting ready, right? It's the same thing. Let's go ahead and set the stage so you understand what's happening here. And so we can answer any questions, put any fears aside, overcome any of those issues, right? Do agents benefit from being active on social media? To TikTok or not to TikTok? That is the question. Since 7% of buyers who use an agent first discovered the person they wound up hiring on a social network, it makes sense to consider the broader impact. Among prospective buyers, 44% said they're more likely to hire an agent active on social media. Meanwhile, 46% claimed it doesn't impact their hiring choice. This data diverges, not hard to understand, among generational lines. 51% of millennials said they're more likely to hire someone active on social media compared to 8% of the baby boomer or silent generation buyers. Agents don't have to be viral sensations. Don't misunderstand this to benefit from social media. Promotion.
And I want to say something. I've been trying to boost my social media. Not really. Anyway, I think my age and older agents are missing that key piece, because there's not a lot of people my age and older that are doing a lot of great social media stuff. So I don't even think it has to be great, just do it. So anyway, because the young agents are doing it. So
Or
anyway,
hire somebody really good to do it.
that's right.
There you go.
That's right.
Yep. Be present. You have to be present. It's like being absent
Yeah.
at a meeting if you're not on social media.
Yep.
Everybody tells me my content is really good. I will tell you guys, I probably posted 2 things. And Jamie, who does my social media, does the rest of it. And I actually just had somebody, he messaged me 2 days ago and was like, hey, you've got some messages on there. Somebody from Hampstead. She's another small business in Hampstead, and she's looking to buy in the spring. And she said she liked my content, so she wants me to help her find a house.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I owe Jamie a nice bottle of alcohol.
Worth the investment, right? Worth
Yep.
the, especially when you consider how time consuming it can be to do some of that stuff. You know, consider that. And if you're not in a position or don't want to pay somebody to do it, just time block. And remember to always gather content. You can get
I've been trying to time block on like a Wednesday or Thursday and take 2 or 3 hours just to do and learn like CapCut and TikTok and all those things, just so I can add some things in addition to what I have Jamie helping me do. But I get all of my social media done at one time, and then I could just go in every morning and just hit send,
Yep. I love it. Okay, cool. Let's see how, so we're seeing that it helps, but it can also hurt. You can do bad stuff on social media, so be aware of that. And
yeah, I will say that there are some local agents that overshare, in my opinion, over here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to their political points of view and things like that. Now, I understand, like, if you're super active in the community and you're a seasoned agent, that's one thing, but be very careful about what you share and what you comment. And
to me, that's a no-brainer. Like, why are you going to lose 50% of the people by sharing what you, anyway?
It's so true. I mean, even like when DR Horton was having all those sales, like at first I was like, oh, I'm going to push this on social media. I knew that would probably get some negative feedback as well. Why would you ever push that? Oh, you're a terrible agent. So
and there's so many
private message people.
Exactly. Yep. And there's so many times where you want to engage, but if it's not going to be helpful for you or your business, because like you're selling yourself out there. So if you, like, for me, I don't have a separate business page. So everybody sees my work and my personal stuff together. And so it doesn't take much for people to be dissuaded or offended or whatnot.
That's why it was important for me to have a separate from my personal, because I live at the beach. I'm at the beach all the time. And a lot of people don't want to see me in my swimsuit, or like they don't want to see me.
I do, girl.
Thanks, April. But like, so I try to keep it separate, because some people are conservative, so they don't want to see that kind of stuff. They don't want to see me, out to dinner or whatever. I mean, I think
you got to do what works for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Do something. That's the important thing.
Exactly.
Let's see. What services do buyers want from their agent. Says 58% value help with offer details. So organizing in the paperwork. 56% were among, say they value that as well. And that, I'd be interested in what the other numbers are or other things. So hopefully we've got some more of that coming. So it's not just about, data shows that buyers care about a lot more than just finding homes to tour. So buyers are telling us they don't just want door openers. So make sure when you show up to show a house that you're not just there to open the door, right? We've talked about that a lot before. I tell you how much stuff I take, disclosures, comps. If you're not prepared, how much value can you provide? So be prepared. Know the house. Get there before them. Walk through it. Turn the lights on. Be able to know what's going on with the disclosures. Be prepared to answer things about the age of the roof, you know, the age of the HVAC, things like that. Be able to talk about other properties that have been sold recently in the neighborhood or that are currently on the market, so you know what's going on and you can provide that data. Here's some other advice or things that they value. 46%, so a little bit less than half, actually finding homes. Probably not that surprising, given, you know, people are searching on multiple sites, Zillow especially, something like that. It can be a blessing and a curse that people can find things on their own, because in a way they need the agent less, but at the same time they have access to more things, so they can kind of pour through the information and whittle down their choices on their own as well, which is not a bad thing. 44% with contract negotiations, 42% on home tours, 27% to lender and inspector. So just showing the value of everything we do. How about communication? How do they like to communicate? And this is really cool because it's got it broken down by generations here. So you can kind of see the trends. 53% total prefer texting or messaging, but that's 42% from boomers and 59% in Gen Z. Phone calls, flip-flopped. 33% overall, 46% with boomers, 29% with Gen Z. And then email is the least preferred, 13%. 13%.
Guessing these statistics are for the entire US instead of the regions.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Given that agents spend a lot of time on traveling outside of an office, the preference could be a positive trend that helps them manage clients throughout the day without need to interrupt meetings to pick up the phone. However, responsiveness still matters to many buyers. 44% said they were in contact with their agent daily. 47% said weekly. And of course, not really that surprising, probably a little bit higher for daily with first-time buyers than repeat buyers, just because they're probably more familiar with the process. More about commissions. Do buyers find agent commissions fair? Well, we talked about this a little bit. This was the first year they asked about agent commissions. 70% said fair, 21% said too high, 9% said too low. Overall, pretty good, I think.
Mm.
Yeah. How often do buyers get a commission rebate? You know, because of the new, this confuses me a little bit, because how can you get a rebate if there's not a standard? Right?
Is that
Yeah.
like the bank or mortgage people say, hey, if you use this agent, you'll get a credit at closing from us kind of situation?
There's not really information here that shows that.
Okay, because I was gonna say sellers that I had this year, they didn't really pick their agent. The agent was given to them by their bank, and then I think they got some kind of concessions at closing for that or something. I don't know.
That could play into it, but I mean, I can't imagine that's a
Yeah.
lot. I
Yeah,
wouldn't
exactly.
even think that's double digits.
Stupid.
All right, so let's talk about sellers. Why do sellers list their home? 78% of sellers were influenced to sell by at least one major life event. Most common factors, 51% of sellers was change in household or family size. Work changes, 37%. Working remotely more, 35%. Losing a job, 29%. What influenced the decision? This is just a visual kind of. You've also got retired on here, which wasn't really included. But I don't think any of these are really surprising. Not a lot of people typically move just to move. Of course, some people do. They want to upsize or downsize, but that's usually about the change in their household size, kids leaving or kids coming on board, right? How many agents do sellers contact? First time seller, 14% 3+ agents. Repeat seller, a higher amount. Why would you think that is?
Because they had a shitty experience the first time around.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's exactly what I would think. 2 agents, 22% for first time, 25% for repeat. But look at this, folks. 1 agent. If you can be the first one to the table, you got a 50% chance, even 60% chance with first time sellers. So be prepared.
They don't know what they don't know, just like buyers, like.
That's right. And if you do a good enough job telling them, they're
That's
not
right.
going to care to ask anybody else.
Yep.
So blow them away. It's like a first date.
Yeah.
How do sellers discover their agent? 36% online, 28 referral. That probably has a lot to do with people moving from one area to the other, things like that. Another visual that kind of goes through the numbers and see how it's changed a little bit here, down a little bit on the website. Social media search engine has increased, referrals increased, slight uptick. Know them from my community, past experience, open house, newspaper ad or direct mail, which is why I don't do a lot of it.
Yeah.
Signs. How do sellers determine their listing price? All right, let's dive into this. Most sellers, 69%, hire an agent to help promote their home and find buyers, while 21% found buyers on their own, but hired an agent to finalize the sale. Okay. When it came to deciding the listing price, sellers explored many different options on their own, but historically, the most common resource was consulting with an agent or broker. Recent years, more sellers have turned to online home value estimators for help setting their listing price. These tools, as we know, can be useful as a starting point, but this sets up a delicate dance for agents to help clients feel comfortable and confident, I'd like to add, about the price of their home if it differs with figures they've seen online. So that's why you have to be incredibly data driven and be able to prove it. If you go in and they say my Zestimate is X, but you can say, well, my estimate is this and it's based on this data. What's the Zillow data based on? Show me the comp Zillow's using.
That's so true, because like I'll do my stuff to prepare, and it's really hard when you're going in blind and you haven't seen the house, there's no previous MLS listing, you're just kind of taking a shot in the dark and hoping for the best.
Yeah.
And that's why I am very careful about, well, I never give an exact number because we're not allowed to do that. But if you can go in with some kind of range, and then if you get there and you're like, oh shit, this is like, I have no idea, I could be way off, I always ask them for a number. And like, I literally just had this one list appointment with a lady in my neighborhood who found me online, and I went over there, and I hadn't seen her house before, but nothing in the neighborhood had sold over X. And I knew that that was like the absolute max that it could be. And asked her for a number, and she gave me a number. I said, okay, tell me why. She's like, well, I don't want to be compared to this down the street that's blah, 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 blah. I'm like, well, that's what you're going to be compared to. It's the exact same property. So you just have to be. And I told her, I was like, I understand that this is an emotional decision, whatever, because they always think that theirs is going to be higher because everybody thinks their house is worth a ton of money. But exactly what you said, you have to be data driven. And it's so funny because I'll always, before I go, after I do my research, I'm always going to pull that Zestimate number because I know that's where their head has already been, and I know that that's where they've already been. And because I'll kind of know in the back of my head what Zestimate says that the number is after I've done my research. And again, like you said, they don't know the condition of the house. They don't know what upgrades you've done. They don't know if anything has sold off market or not in MLS down the street, you know? So there's so many factors that go into that. But um, I'm shocked to see 29% consultant appraiser.
They don't
I-
do that around here.
Well, it's so funny because I had a past client or a SOI call me the other day. She's got a house on the island that she's consider selling, and it's a beautiful property. It's been a minute since I've been there, but she told me, "Well, I know it just appraised for this 2 years ago." I was like, "Oh, did you refi?" And she's like, "Yeah." So that is some kind of basis that they had, which makes total sense. So I
Yeah.
wonder if those are not quite pre-list appraisals, or if they like know a friend that's an appraiser. I'm just,
That's
I'm
a good
shocked.
point. It being a refi is probably
Yeah.
a high percentage of those, I would think.
Yeah,
That's a really good point. Or when they purchased, right?
exactly.
It was like
And
2
I'm
years.
like, well, that appraisal, if that's 2 or 3 year old appraisal, how relevant is that?
I really love your point about knowing this estimate and being prepared to tackle that elephant in the room when you go in to that meeting. And so
Yeah.
2 things. This estimate isn't always high.
It's not.
Sometimes it's
Sometimes
low.
it's low. Yeah.
That's right. So,
Yep.
that can definitely work to your advantage.
Right.
It's just about being able to explain how you came up with the numbers and show it to them,
Yeah.
right? And then you can tackle the estimate either way. Well, why is it low on their end? Well, I don't know. Why is it high on their end? Well, I don't
Yeah.
know. It doesn't show me the comps, you
Yeah.
know? So so that's something important to be prepared for, and I think that's a
Mhm.
great way to do it. And
Mhm.
just between us and anybody who watches the recording, of course, it was proven that Zillow was manipulating the Zestimate values of things during their buyer phase. They were buying properties and then artificially inflating the estimates on the properties.
Jesus.
So that's why they're not buying houses anymore, because they lost a ton of money. What qualities do sellers value most in agents? What would you guys think?
Honesty,
Mm.
experience.
Knowledge of the area.
That's
Yep.
an experience. Yeah.
Know the area, know the neighborhood. I think one of the I have experience with legit went to a list appointment. I was up against 2 other agents. This was in Leland, and I don't know why they didn't choose me. I was up against 2 other agents, but one of the questions that they asked me was, "Have you sold a lot in this neighborhood?"
Yeah.
And I said, I mean, I'm not going to lie to people. I said, I've represented 2 buyers in here, but I've not represented any sellers. So I don't know, but my data and the numbers, the range that I gave them, the house went on the market for exactly what I told him. But anyway, all of that to say, that's understandable. If I lose, they want somebody that, I live in Holly Ridge. I don't live in Leland. It's different. And maybe they chose an agent that is local to the neighborhood in the area. But
But I want to talk about that for a second, if you don't mind. Like,
Yeah.
how do we combat that? Like, I'm trying to really farm my neighborhood. I'm literally making 300 of these things right here. I'm putting them on freaking doors, and I'm going around. I'm PMUing the hell out of all this right now for
Mhm.
Christmas. And I've got somebody that sold 58 homes in here, and
Yeah.
not everybody likes her because she's not nice, but
Yeah.
she sold 58 homes, and I'm like, all right, I'm ready to put some marketing and money behind it, but it's
Yep.
like, how do you even get started? Like, you know?
So that's a great question. So like, I remember when I first got started, just on my cul-de-sac, there was an agent that had 2 houses for sale. And I'm like, my God, she doesn't even live in this neighborhood. There's no reason why I shouldn't be dominating at least my own cul-de-sac. But at the same time, like, what was I
Yeah.
doing to put my name out there? I was a new agent, and the neighborhood is saturated with real estate agents. One of the agents in my neighborhood, she, Doug, you've worked with her before, Tracy Loeffner, she put in a book library at the front of the neighborhood and did a day with Amazon gift cards and toys for kids. And like, she just did anything and put her stats out there. Hey, I've recently helped your neighbors, and this is something that I want to do for our kids in our neighborhood. That's freaking genius, you know? So
Yeah.
just being creative and thinking
Yeah.
outside the box. I got a flyer from Irina Kohler in the mail yesterday. I mean, it's clever. It was a Halloween themed thing. She's a giant name out there. She really only does listings, but I mean, I'm going to throw her mailer away. I don't know how much of her business is from mailers, but
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's just about, I think my cousin
Consistency is
my
nothing.
cousin in Maryland, she's not on leads and she farms her neighborhood. She'll do like events where she pays for like a snow cone truck, and everybody comes to her house, and for the kids in the neighborhood they get a snow cone, and she has a cooler of adult beverages, and then it's just a meet and greet, and she just does that just to, you know,
Yeah.
get your name out there. But
I like that even for Halloween. I think I
Yeah.
may do that. I might start
Yeah.
that, put that out there this week and come to my house.
because let's be
Hmm.
honest, there's a million of us everywhere, you
I
know, and
know.
we live in a very small town here, and there's a ton of agents,
Yeah.
you know? So it's definitely the people that are hustling are going to
Yeah.
be the ones that are going to,
Yeah,
stand
I
out.
think you're right. I know you're right.
And that's why I think it's so important that, yes, do these things to attract new clients, but more importantly, do
Past
things
clients,
to
too.
secure your past clients.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, let's keep going because we got a few more pages. I want to make sure we get through it. Great discussion. Thanks for all of that, guys. Important characteristics, initial impression, like we said, I'm gonna
Yeah.
just start calling that the head and shoulders. Responsive and trustworthy, right? Responsive obviously is huge. Trustworthy should be. General reputation in the community, local market or neighborhood specific knowledge,
Yep.
strong sales history. I would focus more on that than I would worrying too much about a particular neighborhood. Hey, I can only live in one neighborhood.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
But I
so
serve X. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But here's
Yeah.
my sales totals for the last 5 years. or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
This is how many families that I've helped.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here are my reviews. You know, surprisingly, part of a team, knowing that you've got other resources, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not unimportant to people. Not
Mhm.
everybody wants an agent who's just out there on their own, not unaffiliated or, not
Mhm.
connected with other people. It's good to know and to tell people that other people have my back, meaning they also have your back as a client.
Yep.
Personal experience, past personal experience, obviously. Recognizable brokerage, 40%, 42% know about the name of the brokerage.
Say
I
that
think
again.
that's getting less and less, honestly.
I agree. 42% do not care
Yeah.
about it being a recognizable brokerage. It's going to be about you and the way you present yourself
Yep.
for almost half the people.
And we got bigger signs than half those companies anyway.
There you go. Lower commission or a rebate. Not surprisingly, that's 50%. How important are digital tools? We talked about this a little bit. We're doing this already. It's a good sign that we're doing it. 78% high-res photography, virtual tours, interactive floor plans. How many offers does
Oh,
the typical
Jesus.
seller get? The median is 2.
Hmm.
2. That's a really good expectation setting statistic.
I'm gonna say right now it's 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God help me.
But we only need one. We only need one
That's
buyer.
what I keep telling them. It only takes 1 buyer.
We only need one buyer.
That's right.
We don't have to sell it 50 times.
That's
so we
right.
don't need 50 offers. Of course, it's better to have more. We all know why.
Right.
But still, this is what's happening in the marketplace.
Yep. Yep.
Median offers 2.
Yep.
How often do sellers negotiate commissions?
Meh.
Just over half of sellers working with an agent negotiated a lower commission. More than double received a commission rebate from their agent buyers. My only assumption of that would be is that a seller was offering less than on the agency agreement. At least that's how I interpret it in today's language. And the buyer's agent renegotiated the agency agreement to accept that lower number.
Ah,
Making
I
the
see what you're
buyer
saying.
make up the difference. That's what I have to infer from this.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, but again, rebate implies you have to pay it first and then get it back. That's a rebate.
Yeah, I mean it's weird language, but
Yeah.
until it-
It's wrong language.
But I think the important thing here is that's why I like our menu approach
Mhm.
versus well, we do it for X, and then you have to negotiate down and still do all the things.
I'm going to tell you, I have had very little pushback with sellers wanting to. In fact, I'll say since all this started, every single seller has agreed to 2.5% because I put it in the perspective of the buyer, and none of them have had any issue. They're my past clients, so I do the total for 5.5, and I've had zero issues having to negotiate down from that.
I've had lots of conversations just with friends, and it's been way better
Oh,
than
yeah.
I would have even thought.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, yeah, it makes sense. Why would anybody work for free? I'm like, exactly.
Yeah, and most of them are like, "Well, that sucks for y'all."
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. What separates sellers who negotiate from those who don't? Younger
Mm.
negotiate more.
Oh, really?
Higher household income.
Hmm.
Higher sales price.
Mm-hmm.
Higher percentage of people who are buying did not negotiate.
Mm.
But the negotiated side, more likely to use the same agent to buy and sell.
Mm.
Now,
That's crazy.
some of this could have to do with, like, show me the statistics. Are they buying in
Yeah.
the same area?
Yeah.
Older people are probably more likely to be moving from one area to another when they're selling, meaning,
Yeah.
they're probably not going to use the same agent for obvious
Right.
reasons. These folks may be upsizing, right? Kids are getting older. They need more space. They're coming into their prime earning years. They're making more money. So yeah, we're going to use the same agent because we're in town. They're probably getting a discount. That's why they negotiated it, right? Because they're using them to buy and sell. That makes sense.
We do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And medium home that they bought, the purchase price up. So you can see this did go up, but not quite as much as this did.
Yeah.
All right, so in the survey. Just to kind of give you some background where it came from. 5,000 unique respondents, 2,200 successful buyers, 2,800 prospective buyers,
Which means they didn't buy a house.
or they were in part of the process they hadn't bought
Yeah.
yet. I'm good with that.
Yep.
If y'all are really interested in it, you can go read it. But I thought that was really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Some stuff, not really that surprising. Some things that we've seen.
Yeah.
Other stuff, I think there was some surprising stuff in there. It's not surprising that people want to negotiate. You have to be prepared for it. I think we are. I think a lot of it goes to show that people want to work with people who are responsive,
Yeah.
who provide value, which is what we always strive to do. And if I don't say anything else, I say provide value, and show up and be responsive for your folks. And if you do that, you're going to win more than not.
And you guys will
So
find out very quickly, especially what Doug was saying about being responsive. Like, I'm sure you guys have all experienced agents that just fucking ghost you or can't respond. Like, I showed a house a couple weeks ago and I had specific questions for the agent. I called, I texted, and he never responded to me. And that house is still on the market. And I'm like,
Now you
wonder
know
why. But it is just, like, these people are paying
Yeah.
us a lot of money, and to behave like that, I just don't understand it. And you'll learn very quickly in this business how not to be. So again, I
It
can't
makes us
stress it
look
enough.
bad as an
Like,
industry.
you're working for yourself and you have a reputation out there, and the experience that you have with other agents in this industry and past experiences, keep that in mind, because if you're a shit to somebody and then you got to bring an offer to that person who's listing a house later, that could influence whether you get it accepted or not. So
Yeah,
just be very cognizant of that.
Especially when they're butts to begin with and you want to be a butt back and you can't because you're like, dang, my clients want to put an offer in on this house. That would be nice.
that's right.
But yeah, the
This-
responsiveness is the most important thing, in my opinion.
I agree.
It's huge, no doubt. Well, anybody else have anything to discuss?
I was gonna let you guys know for like open houses. I did one for Janine Sunday, and if anybody's planning any, I got really good feedback for Sunday. I had 4 people come, and 3 of the 4 couples, the guy said, "Thank you for having it before football on Sunday started because we would not be here if it was during the football game."
What times you do it?
10 to 12.
Because the first games don't start till 1.
1, yeah, and then Sunday or Saturday is college football during the day,
Yeah.
so they were like, we wouldn't have come on Saturday. So if you need an open house,
Dang
Sunday,
it.
10 to 12 apparently is the time to do
I've
it
never heard
for
that
the
feedback
guys.
before, but it makes complete sense. Thanks for sharing that, Connor.
And it
That's
speak that's so funny. That's so funny that you said that. I was watching ESPN last weekend and they were doing this thing about why you shouldn't schedule weddings during football season.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Anthony would miss my